Hi there, my name's Andy Hillier and today's guitar lesson is going to be on A Plague Tale Innocence. The song is called Father from that game. It's a beautiful little song. I've done a full playthrough, a cover version, so if you want to hear what it sounds like all the way through, check it out. I'll leave a link in the description and a card above. So I'm going to teach you my whole arrangement of that. But just before I do, if you wouldn't mind subscribing to my channel, which is Andy Hillier, give me a like on the video as well, press the notifications. The more comments the better. So just say hi if you want to say hi, let me know where in the world you're from, and any other ideas for songs would be amazing. And if you love what I'm doing, you want to support me, support the channel, and you want the tabs for this, then I'll put them on my Patreon page. I'll leave a link to that in the description. My guitar is in standard tuning and I've got a capo on fret number 7. Okay, the first line sounds like this. Okay, so to play that, G string and then D3. And it basically does that 8 times in the first 2 bars. So G to D3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Into the next bar, and we're going to play the D1 to the open D string. And we're going to do that 7 times. And then on the 8th time, at the last 2 hits, we're going to play the D1 and D3. So bars 3 and 4 go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. So the whole of the first line. On to the next line. Starts similar, playing the G to the D3. Do that 7 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then D3, D1. And then we're going into the next bar. D1 to open D string. It's basically the same as the previous line, the second 2 bars. So. Okay, so the whole of that line goes. On to the next line, and we've got this. So to play that, E3, then G, then E3, E1, E3, then G, E3, E1, E3, then G, then E3, E1, E3. Down to E1, you could either pull it off or just play it, it's fine. And then B4, then B3. So the first 2 bars of that line go. We're then going to go to B4, then G, B4, B3, and you could pull off or just play it, it's fine. Then B3, G, B4, B3, B4, G, B4, B3, B4, B3, B4, and then B6. So bars 11 and 12 go. So the whole line. And then on to the next line, which is identical to the previous line. The only difference is the second bar of the line, bar 14, slightly different. We're going to play E3, pulling off to E1 3 times. So it goes, then B4, and then B3. Other than that, the rest of the line's exactly the same. So it goes like this. On to the next line, and I've written this in 3/4, so 3 beats in the bar. The previous part was in 4/4. It's quite freely played, but it sounds like this. play a little bit with the time on it. But we're going to play B3, then G, G2, G3, B3, B4 hammers onto B6, then E3, E3, then B1. So the first 2 bars go. And then the next 2 bars are exactly the same. So you're just doing the same thing twice. And then on to the next line. And again, the time is not necessarily perfect. In this first bar, I've literally written it as 2/4, so like 2 beats. So 1, 2. Then plays to B4 and then E1. And then we carry on with this. Which is almost like what we've played previously. So E3, pulling off to E1, it does it like 6 times. And then plays E3, E1, and then B4, and then B3. So we've got... And then B4 to G, B4, B3, could pull off if you wanted. Then B4, G, B4, B3, B4, G, B4, pull off to B3, B4, pull off to B3, B4, and then E1. So the whole of that line. On to the next line, and we've got... So for this, we've got the G string and E3 at the same time. Then E3, pull off to E1, and then again hit the E3 with the G at the same time. Then E3, pull off to E1, into the next bar, and we've got G and the E3 again. E3 pulls off to E1, E3 pulls off to E1, B4, and then at the same time, it feels a little bit weird, but G and the B3, and then B4, B4, and then again G and the B3, then E4, E4, G and the B3 again, into the last part, E4, E4, E3, E4, E4, and then E1, and then it holds on to that. So that line goes. Then you hold on to that E1 a bit longer, then we go on to the next line, goes. So let's play that. B1, B4, B4, E1, then E3 with the A3, then D1, and then G. So you got... Then into the next bar. It holds on a bit longer on that. It doesn't necessarily keep in time. So I've written it then going into 3/4 here. And then B1, G3, B1, B3, B3, hammers onto B4, and then plays a B4. So it goes. And then into the next bar. You don't have to put this trill in. You could just play the A1 and the B3 at the same time. But you can hammer on to B4 and pull off to the B3 really quickly if you want. Then open D, open G. So that line sounds a bit like this. Remember there's a little bit of a pause at the end of the second bar there, so it goes. On to the next line. The first bar, literally just play these 3 notes, which is B1, B4, E1. So I've written it as 3/8. I'm just trying to sort of keep it in time, and then a bar of 5/4. So the notation is probably not exactly what he meant, but he's kind of playing free in this part. Okay, so I've got... and then we're playing E3 and A3 at the same time, then D1, and then B4 and the G string at the same time, E1, a quick hammer on from E1 to E3, and then B1, G3, B1, and then B3. So the first two bars you've got. And then into the next bar, we're playing A3 and B3, and a quick hammer on to the B4 instantly. Or you could just get rid of that and play the B4 and the A3 at the same time. Then D1 and G, G with E3 in the bass, G2, G2, G3, E1, and then G3 pulls off to G2, and then off to the open G. So, and then we're going to play, which is B4, hammers onto B6, and then E3. So the whole of the line goes. And again, onto this next line, the timing's all a bit kind of free. So you've got this. So I didn't really know exactly how to write this out. Hopefully it still makes sense. So A3 and then E3 at the same time. And then B1, this little hammer on from B4 to B6, then E3. So the first bar of that line goes. Then the next bar's the same. And then E3 and A3, B1, E1, B4, B1, G3, then B4, B3, B1 with A3 just to finish off. So that last line goes. And that's the whole song. Okay, so let's play the whole way through. Well, I do hope you've enjoyed that guitar lesson and found it useful. If you have, if you wouldn't mind subscribing to my channel, which is Andy Hillier, give me a like on the video, press the notifications, Leave me some comments in the comment section. Just let me know where in the world you're from, what you thought of the video. Let me know what songs I should do next. And if you love what I'm doing, you want to support me, support the channel, and you want the tabs for this, then I'll put them on my Patreon page. I'll leave a link to that in the description. Well, thanks for watching this. I do really appreciate it. I've been Andy Hillier, and I'll see you next time.